As gold purified by thorough heating on the fire gives up its impurities and attains to its own luster, so the mind through meditation gives up its impurities of sattva, rajas and tamas and attains to the reality of Brahman. When the mind thus purified by constant practice is merged in Brahman, then Samadhi passes on from the Savikalp to the Nirvikalp stage and leads directly to the realization of the bliss of Brahman, the one without a second. By this Samadhi are destroyed all desires which are like knots, all work is at an end, and inside and out there takes place everywhere and always the spontaneous manifestation of one's real nature. Reflection should be considered 100 times superior to hearing, and meditation 100,000 times superior even to reflection. But the Nirvikalp Samadhi is infinite in its results. By the Nirvikalp Samadhi, the truth of Brahman is clearly and definitely realized, but not otherwise, for then the mind, being unstable by nature, is apt to be mixed with other perceptions. Hence, with the mind calm and the senses controlled, always drown the mind in the Supreme Self that is within, and through the realization of thy identity with that reality, destroy the darkness created by nescience which is without beginning. The first steps to yoga are control of speech, non-receiving of gifts, entertaining of no expectations, freedom from activity, and always living in a retired place. Living in a retired place serves to control the sense organs. Control of the senses helps to control the mind. Through control of the mind, egoism is destroyed, and this again gives the yogi an unbroken realization of the bliss of Brahman. Therefore, the man of reflection should always strive only to control the mind. Restrain speech in the manas and restrain manas in the buddhi. This again restrain in the witness of buddhi, and merging that also in the infinite absolute self, attain to supreme peace. Body, pranas, organs, manas, buddhi and the rest, with whichsoever of these supervening adjuncts the mind is associated, the yogi is transformed as it were into that. When this is stopped, the man of reflection is found to be easily detached from everything and to get the experience of an abundance of everlasting bliss. It is the man of dispassion, Vairagya, who is fit for this internal as well as external renunciation. For the dispassionate man, out of the desire to be free, relinquishes both internal and external attachment. It is only the dispassionate man who, being thoroughly grounded in Brahman, can give up the external attachment to the sense objects and the internal attachment for egoism, etc. Know, O wise man, dispassion and discrimination to be like the two wings of a bird. In the case of an aspirant, unless both are there, none can, with the help of either one, reach the creeper of liberation that grows as it were on the top of an edifice. The extremely dispassionate man alone has samadhi, and the man of samadhi alone gets steady realization. The man who has realized the truth is alone free from bondage, and the free soul only experiences eternal bliss. For the man of self-control, I do not find any better instrument of happiness than dispassion, and if that is coupled with a highly pure realization of the self, it conduces to the suzerainty of absolute independence. And since this is the gateway to the damsel of everlasting liberation, therefore for thy welfare be dispassionate both internally and externally, and always fix the mind on the eternal self. Sever thy craving for the sense objects which are like poison, for it is the very image of death, and giving up thy pride of caste, family and order of life, fling actions to a distance. Give up thy identification with such unreal things as the body, and fix thy mind on the Atma. For thou art really the witness, Brahman, unshackled by the mind, the one without a second and supreme. Fixing the mind firmly on the ideal, Brahman, and restraining the external organs in their respective centers, with the body held steady and taking no thought for its maintenance, attaining identity with Brahman and being one with it, always drink joyfully of the bliss of Brahman in thy own self without a break. What is the use of other things which are entirely hollow? giving up the thought of the non-self which is evil and productive of misery. Think of the self, the bliss absolute, which conduces to liberation. Here shines eternally the Atma, the self-effulgent witness of everything, which has the buddhi for its seat. Making this Atma, which is distinct from the unreal, the goal, meditate on it as thy own self, excluding all other thought. Reflecting on this Atma continuously and without any foreign thought intervening, one must distinctly realize it to be one's real self. Strengthening one's identification with this and giving up that with egoism and the rest, one must live without any concern for them as if they were trifling things, like a cracked jar or the like. Fixing the purified mind in the self, the witness, the knowledge absolute, and slowly making it still, one must then realize one's own infinite self. One should behold the Atma, the indivisible and infinite, free from all limiting adjuncts such as the body, organs, pranas, manas, and egoism, which are creation of one's own ignorance, like the infinite sky. The sky, divested of the hundreds of limiting adjuncts such as a jar, a pitcher, a receptacle for grains or a needle, is one and not diverse. Exactly in a similar way, the pure Brahman, when divested of egoism, etc., is verily one. The limiting adjuncts from Brahma down to a clump of grass are all wholly unreal. Therefore, one should realize one's own infinite self as the only principle. That in which something is imagined to exist through error is, when rightly discriminated, that thing itself, and not distinct from it. When the error is gone, the reality about the snake falsely perceived becomes the rope. Similarly, the universe is in reality the Atma. The self is Brahma, the self is Vishnu, the self is Indra, the self is Shiva, the self is all this universe. Nothing exists except the self. The self is within and the self is without. The self is before and the self is behind. The self is in the south and the self is in the north. The self likewise is above as also below. As the wave, the foam, the whirlpool, the bubble, etc. are all in essence but water, similarly the Chit, knowledge absolute, is all this from the body up to egoism. Everything is verily the Chit, homogeneous and pure. All this universe known through speech and mind is nothing but Brahman. There is nothing besides Brahman which exists beyond the utmost range of the Prakriti. Are the pitcher, jug, jar, etc. known to be distinct from the clay of which they are composed? It is the deluded man who talks of thou and I as an effect of the wine of Maya. The Shruti in the passage, where one sees nothing else, etc., declares by an accumulation of verbs the absence of duality in order to remove the false superimpositions. The Supreme Brahman is like the sky, pure, absolute, infinite, motionless and changeless, devoid of exterior or interior, the one existence without a second, and is one's own self. Is there any other object of knowledge? What is the use of dilating on this subject? The Jiva is no other than Brahman. This whole extended universe is Brahman itself. The Shruti inculcates the Brahman without a second, and it is an indubitable fact that people of enlightened minds who know their identity with Brahman and have given up their connection with the objective world live palpably unifold with Brahman as eternal knowledge and bliss. First destroy the hopes raised by egoism in this filthy gross body, then do the same forcibly with the air-like subtle body. And realizing Brahman, the embodiment of eternal bliss, whose glories the scriptures proclaim as thy own self, live as Brahman. So long as man has any regard for this corpse-like body, he is impure and suffers from his enemies, as also from birth, death and disease. But when he thinks of himself as pure, as the essence of good and immovable, he assuredly becomes free from them. The Shrutis also say this. By the elimination of all apparent existences superimposed on the soul, the Supreme Brahman, infinite, the one without a second and beyond action, remains as itself. When the mind functions are merged in the Paramatma, the Brahman, the Absolute, none of this phenomenal world is seen, whence it is reduced to mere talk. In the one entity, Brahman, the conception of the universe is a mere phantom. Whence can there be any diversity in that which is changeless, formless and absolute? in the one entity, devoid of the concepts of seer, seeing, and seen, which is changeless, formless, and absolute, whence can there be any diversity?